not showing up in the right form with
But
in
look at
order
it,
to
right?
get a woman to do that willingly, because you don't want to have to take it from her or force it out of her. You want it to be willingly, and it needs to be it needs to be encouraged and influenced. It's not just because she's a woman, this is how she's supposed to act.
But that
No,
wasn't even
there
an
are different
issue.
ways.
And that,
You
then
have to
that's
be making my life
conditional
better.
love.
That
Then
wasn't
that's
even an
conditional.
issue. But that also wasn't an issue for men of the past. They didn't have to worry about it because women didn't have that power then. So if she wanted to be free, so to speak, marriage was the root. And so marriage was a great incentive for women. Like, yo, I
They
want to
were
get out of my
also
parents'
marrying
house. I
12
want to.
year olds.
Well, I'm
But
not
see,
talking about those cases. I'm talking about adults, women marrying. I'm just saying, like, in the 80s and 70s, when women were getting married, the incentives were very different than the incentives are now. Now it's
I
like,
think you
well,
got to go a little further back to 80s and 70s.
well, I mean, I
okay,
And the
guess
black
sure,
what
woman
I
has
sure,
guess
always
you're
been
what.
right. I
working.
think
Let's
you're right.
get
I
that
think we can
straight.
go. I think you're right. I
So
think we can go a lot further back. But I'm
Black women
overall
have
just saying
always
that
had to work.
the power that women have now has created a different appetite in women, and women are not giving that power up. The women in the past didn't even have that power. So it's like now that y'all got it, y'all not giving it up.
Yeah, because if what you're offering isn't better, why would we?
Well, the thing is, the thing is, because of the power that y'all have to make the choices of your own, it's going to be very difficult for you to see someone else's choice as better. So if a man can come into your life and make better decisions than you, because you know what it's like to make decisions for yourself, it's still gonna there's still gonna be a level of doubt. Like, well, I wouldn't have decided like that. I might have decided differently. So I don't know if I can trust the way he's making the decision because
But see,
I've
that's
been
why
doing
you're
it this
supposed to be
way.
doing. You have to vet people before you go. Y'all should think the same
Right. But
initially.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
but
yeah,
what
believe
I'm
in
but,
saying
trying to
is
change a woman's mind
but
or a man's. Go ahead,
but what
Luis.
I'm saying is look
yeah.
at the obstacle it creates for men because now a man
Sorry,
has
man. Nobody
to
talk is.
convince
Yeah,
that he can leave. Go ahead.
let me get in here for a second.
You
Look,
got it.
the reality is that the way that you
Man, talk.
framed it, Alicia, it seemed too conditional. And with that, I kind of go back to I go back to the mind frame of I think that men today have to work 5 times harder than their grandfather to qualify for women who are 20 times worse than their grandmother.
Hmm. Yep.
Right? And sort of we can't sit here and try to compare things apple to apple like these people are on the same wavelength and line. Let's be honest. I grew up in a two-parent household. I grew up in, I'm the oldest of three. Grew up in a two-parent household. I come from a big family. A lot of people do not share that same sentiment. A lot of people don't grow up in a two-parent family. We've had this conversation on King Talk, and we've had these conversations on Sundays. Should people who grew up in a two-parent household marry or seriously date people who grew up in a single parent household? The
I
the,
can see why
the
that's a question.
psychology, the psychology, the doctrination, and the value systems are completely different. And although they're cute or they're cute and they should do this and that, let's be honest. The programming behind these individuals are not aligned or conducive for long-term relationships because no matter how much I show up as a man or how
Mhm.
competent or confident I am, you are always going to reserve back to your foundational programming training, i.e., upbringing. That is the issue. You know what I'm saying? That is always going to go back and you're not adding that to the equation. We're having this conversation as if it's in a vacuum. And I hate to burst a lot of people that bubble, but that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? We have a lot of intricacies in terms of people's upbringing, religious backgrounds, beliefs or not. You know what I'm saying? People talk about marriage, but they don't even go to church. They don't even have God fearing. They don't even have
Nope.
a relationship with God. They don't have no sense or foundational principles. I keep going back to that, and I'm keep hammering that all night until somebody, wakes up.
But what
Those are
about
the
what I
things
said?
that ground.
What
Those are the things that ground people in their relationship.
right,
People are
which is
so
why I just
easy to
said
walk
you should be
away.
with someone who thinks like you and who shares those same values as you. I I I didn't grow up in a two-parent household, But I don't date men that don't have good relationships with their fathers. And I think that's because even though I didn't have that experience, I'm aware of the value of it. And I think even if you don't have the experience of being in a two-parent home, you can look at statistics and learn that
Mhm.
there's it's valuable to do so. So then you can change your direction. I think religion is something that people should also agree on. I see people trying to make it work, but I think it's much more easier to just go find somebody in your culture and religion. Like,
I agree.
why are we not so specific about the way we go about finding and choosing a mate? Like, it shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be this general thing. It shouldn't be 10 women to choose from. It should be hard. It should take a minute because you got to learn yourself first. And then you can decide who is going to work best with what you got. That I agree. I think that we don't have those conversations. I think people get married for the wrong reasons all the time, if not most of the time. And I think a lot of it is just ignoring these things that seem old, right? Like culture and your upbringing and how you were raised and what you value. Like that shit matters.
Well, this is why premarital counsel is very important leading up before that, because it allows you to have those uncomfortable
Yeah.
conversations, and it allows somebody who's an unbiased third party person to bring up things that you guys might have not talked about or talked about but didn't really deep dive into those issues, right? Like, people think that, like, yeah, I vetted this person. You vetted them on the surface level, and
And
you got,
to only the extent that you can actually, you know what I mean? Like we don't know what we don't know. So you don't
yeah,
know the
yeah.
questions you're
But see,
not
this is the
asking.
thing about it. You this is the thing about it, and I've said this before. People are much more willing. People are much more picky and much more willing not to budge on the places that they go and eat at and the food that they elect to eat than they are about sharing their wombs or sharing the most intimate parts of their mind about how they think, what they feel, what things trigger them, what are they uncomfortable about, and where their insecurities lie. Everybody puts up a wall in the front like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." You're not good. And it takes a bigger person to admit that you're not good. And it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay there. And we've said this on this panel many of times. And unfortunately, if you can't rely on your person to share and get emotionally naked and talk about the uncomfortable things, that relationship will not strive for the long run.
True.
Hmm.